I'm delighted to be with you for this event in relation to the Saker Falcon. I'm Colin Galbraith, Chair of the Saker Falcon Task Force, and have been involved in the task force and indeed with CMS for many years, indeed with CMS for decades. So delighted to be with you online, and apologies for not being able to be with you in person, but other pressures have kept me here. The day job is demanding. Anyway, welcome to this event. As I say, I'm delighted to be here. The Saker falcon is an iconic species, and for many of us, it's a conservation priority and a conservation and management priority across its whole range. And that's really been the origin of the Saker Task Force. So within the task force, we've been working in its conservation for a long time, and the conference of the parties that you are now attending is indeed a key moment for the species and for future action to help the Saker survive through the many challenges that migratory species have to face at the moment. Just in relation to the Conference of the Parties, there is a key document that I hope you'll get time to consider and to address in the meeting, which is a resolution, and it's an item 26.7, and document 26.7, which is an amended resolution and draft decision paper for you to consider. And that's important for the Saker falcon. It also has a much wider relevance for CMS in terms of delivery of the overall Samarkand strategic plan for the convention. And I was lucky enough to chair the committee of the whole at the previous COP. So it would be great to see that continuity into this COP and then to give us in the Saker Task Force the remit, if you like, to carry on the work that we're doing now. More of that later in the meeting. I'm sure you'll hear about that from Umberto and from others, but welcome, as I say, to this side event. And please let us have your thoughts and input to discussions. This is an event for you. It's an event for you to, yes, listen, but also to participate and give us your thoughts. So what about the Saker Task Force? Well, the task force has been going for some years. It has involved many people and organisations from right across the range of the Saker falcon, and that's been a really productive coming together, a really productive joint effort. And I'd like to just put on record my thanks to all the participants of the Saker Task Force, all the governments that have helped us and all the individuals over the years. Indeed, it really has been a global effort to get us to where we are today. So what are the key conservation and management issues facing the Saker falcon? Indeed, there are many, and sadly there are many. And what we've got to do in the task force in years to come is make decisions in an environment that's changing rapidly, using patchy distribution data, patchy information on the wider environment. So we need to be very clear and very careful about what we know and what we don't know about the distribution, about the ecology of the species more generally, about their movement pattern and their overall sort of existence. So the Saker Task Force is taking a very precautionary approach, a very integrated and engaged approach to the conservation work that we do. The species is challenging in many ways, but one is its large distribution across Central Asia, the Middle East and Africa. This is a wide-ranging species. It has many range states and involves many different challenges along the way. So what are these challenges? Just to list a few, the threats, clearly climate change is impacting on many issues at the moment, but we can see that coming around into real habitat change, and within that pre-availability for the Saker falcon in some of its core nesting areas. So climate change linked to habitat change is a major threat, but that's common for many migratory species. And again, indeed, at the COP, I think you'll be tackling climate change issues in the round. But then more specifically, for the Saker falcon and indeed for other falcons, is electrocution. Electrocution from power lines in particular is especially dangerous through the nesting season and in migration for Sakers. And in some areas, good work has been done to actually make power lines safer for Saker, but there's still work to do. So how do we tackle that electrocution problem going forward? Thirdly then, and specifically, it's illegal trapping. The trade in Sakers is still there, it's still real, it's still illegal in many cases. And the work of the task force has benefited hugely by input from two groups of people. Firstly, from our colleagues in CITES Convention, have been really helpful and supportive, instrumental to getting us to where we are now. So thank you for their input. But also to falconers. Falconers themselves have been key to getting us to where we are, looking at how many birds are in captivity, looking at how many birds are traded and where they are. So really that team effort has got us to begin to tackle these threats. As I say, in my mind, the three big threats: climate change, habitat change, electrocution, and then illegal trapping. So what can we do about it? Where are we now? What are the actions that we're looking for to put in place in the years to come? Well, actually, urgent conservation action on the ground is needed across the species range, and developing within that wider framework of conservation action an adaptive management framework set within that wider effort in conservation is really key. And what that would do, if we can put that in place, is to develop a legal and controlled way to take birds from the wild, to satisfy that demand in a legal and controlled way set within that wider framework for action. And critically for me, within that, ensuring that population viability is maintained for the future. So that population viability across the range is really key. That's the way ahead, I hope. But actually some great work has been done already, and it's important I say at the outset of the meeting that one or two organisations have been really instrumental to getting us here. And if I can just mention in particular, the Mohammed bin Zayed Raptor Conservation Fund, just in terms of their funding of related work on Saker, has been really instrumental, as indeed has their leadership overall in terms of taking us forward. So again, thank you. And also thanks to the International Association for Falconry and Conservation of Birds of Prey. Your input, their input has been really key in terms of addressing the way forward, in terms of how we might take that in future years. Engaging with conservationists, engaging with falconers, engaging importantly with trappers has been really instrumental to getting us to where we are. So that approach of engagement, involvement is really where I'd like to see the Saker Task Force going ahead. We have other CMS initiatives, the Energy Task Force from CMS, that we need to link to, and that synergy across CMS, tackling issues like electrocution in terms of Sakers is really key. So how do we do that? How do we take that forward? So overall, what happens next? Well, this event now is actually really important. So for the Saker Task Force, assuming that the resolutions and the decisions are made at the COP, then where I'd like to see it going is that the Saker Task Force will move into a more formal structure, a decision-making approach to conservation action. We need to take action, and to testing and piloting some of the actions around the adaptive management framework on the ground. So we really do need a clear mandate from the COP. We need a clear mandate from you to go forward and to get your input and support, not just today, but beyond today. Let me close just by wishing you a good meeting. If the internet connections work well, I may be able to join you in person online for some of it, but if I don't, then do enjoy the next hour or so I think you've got to address this. Do input your ideas, do follow up beyond the meeting with Umberto and others from CMS, and I wish you a very successful wider COP as well. Thank you very much.